Well, good afternoon and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with your host, Evan James. Guys, bringing you all the latest Rangers gossip, news, whatever. Ahead, obviously, of this weekend's game. We've got a game this weekend afternoon. David, how you doing, buddy? It is Sunday afternoon we play. It's 12 o'clock kickoff against Killy. I always worry about those 12 o'clock kickoffs on a Sunday. Caleb says, hi, Erin. Can't wait till next week. I'm going to St Mirren. I hope you have a fantastic time. Please, obviously, send us some pictures. If you want to send us a video of you at the game, mate, feel free. But yeah, you know what, guys? It is, again, a must-win game. It really genuinely is on Sunday. And if not, the pressure's on. The pressure is firmly on Philippe Clement, isn't it? Interesting, obviously, it's the international break still ongoing. Is it just me? Hey, Brian, how you doing? Is it just me, or does this international break seem to have lasted since about, I don't know, last year? It seems like one of the world's longest international breaks ever. I mean, it genuinely does seem like a never-ending international break. Obviously, Scotland drew 0-0 with Portugal. The one, obviously, afternoon D1. How you doing, buddy? The one positive from the game against Portugal, the Scottish game against Portugal. Hey, George, how you doing, buddy? How's Colin today? Is the fact that John Souttar was absolutely outstanding for Scotland. Let's hope he continues being outstanding for Rangers. David, how you doing, buddy? I'm good, thank you. Not too bad at all. On a day off today, so that's a positive, mate. To be on a day off, definitely. So it's good to have some time off, time to get my head around what's going on at this moment in time. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I think, mate. It is. These international breaks are lasting as long as the school. They are like the school holidays, aren't they? You feel like they're never ending. Although I've got to say, when you're a kid, school holidays seem to last forever. The moment you become an adult, they do seem to fly by. Well, if you're a teacher, I think obviously if you've got to look after the kids all the time, then probably isn't a fly-by job, is it? It's a bit of a when the hell do they go back? And obviously Christmas holidays coming up, and all that. Anyway, right, let's talk some Rangers. Let's talk some different pieces. I want to talk a little bit about Oscar Cortez today. I want to talk some Abdallah Sima. I want to talk some John Souttar. A bit of a John Souttar fan, you know that. I want to talk a bit about wages as well, about players on just ridiculous wages at the club still at this moment in time that badly needs to be looked at. Look, I want to start off by talking a little bit about Oscar Cortez. Right, I'm going to make one thing absolutely clear from the out. Colney is wet and dreary. Yeah, it is. Scott, how you doing, buddy? The game on Sunday will be a slog. I think Cortez out for the season. I don't know, mate, but it is long term. Souttar got man of the match last night, by the way. He did, didn't he? He was outstanding last night, John Souttar. Absolutely brilliant. Fantastic performance from John last night. Let's hope he keeps that up going into the game. And like I said, I do want to talk a little bit about John Souttar. We will get to John Souttar very, very shortly. So, thanks, John. No worries. Thank you very much, mate. What I want to talk a little bit about is the whole Oscar Cortez situation. That's what I want to talk about. Obviously, Oscar. I mean, let's put one thing into perspective. Oscar's a good footballer. I mean, he obviously is a very, very, very talented footballer. I mean, I've got no doubts about that. He's direct, he's quick, he likes to go at players, he can score a goal, he can give an assist. And, when he has played, he's looked decent. I mean, I've got no doubts in saying that Oscar Cortez, football-wise, is a good footballer. He really, really is. Afternoon, mate. How you doing? To John. But I've got to say, I have got major concerns about this deal that was done. Now, obviously, it is a obligation to buy job, so it is. We'll get to that. So this is the bit that was obviously on X this morning from Four Lads Had a Dream, from the Niels Coppin interview with Rangers Review. Niels Coppin said Oscar came in with a blank injury record, which is not true. No injuries, no scans, everything was perfect. We're looking into it as a club. I'm still confident in the move to bring him here. We signed him on a 5-year deal and still believe in his potential over a longer period. So let's deal with those comments from Niels Coppin. Now, Oscar Cortez is here to stay. That is the issue. He is here to stay, whether we like it or not. And I know there's been lots of talk, hasn't there, in the media, and lots of talk on chat rooms and on live chats and on podcasts about the fact that can we in any way, shape or form get out of this deal? Is there a way to get out of the Oscar Cortez deal? Because it's a $4.5 million obligation to buy on a 5-year deal, which, is worth probably substantial wages as well. Is there any way out of it? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. The answer is no. There is no way out of this deal now. We are locked into this deal. Good afternoon, Malky. How you doing? We are locked into this deal. We have Oscar Cortez, whether we want him or not now. So we've got to kind of look at the situation as it presents itself. So Oscar, here to stay for at least the next 5 years. So he's on a 5-year deal. Now, look, it just obviously this season is a loan, but the purchase will go through as the Diamande purchase. The Diamande purchase went through this summer. So it was an obligation to buy when we got him in January. We had him from January till the end of the season. We then bought him in the summer. This is the same. It's a summer to probably summer deal. So Cortez stays for this season. At the end of this season, we are going to buy him for £4.5 million. Now, yeah, he was outstanding, John. We are going to talk about John Souttar coming up shortly. But I want to sort of address this Oscar Cortez issue to start off with. So Cortez is going to come. Now, Cortez is out injured again. And he's had 3 injuries at least this season. 3 injuries already. CJ, no worries, mate. How you doing? He's already had 3 injuries. Now, this is a big issue for me, a big problem. Now, Niels Coppen says, in that quote that I shared with you just a few moments ago, Niels Coppen said, Oscar came in with a blank injury record. Well, when did he come in with a blank injury record? Because he was out for the whole of the end of the season. From that Kilmarnock game last season, he was out for the rest of the season with that knee injury. So to say he came in with a blank injury record this summer when we signed him is false. To say he came in with a blank injury record before that is true. So when does Coppen mean from? Does he mean from the summer, or does he mean from the January? When does he actually mean? That's what I want to know, okay? Because it's not clear. It really is not clear in the quote what he means from. Yes, it was Malky. It was me on this morning. Yes, I was on this morning using one of my other channels, one of my YouTube channel, which is my commenting channel. Now, Cortez, yes, to say he came in with a blank injury record is actually false. Okay, so let's have a little look. This is Transfer Market. This is Oscar Cortez's injury history as it stands at this moment in time. Okay, so to say he came in with a blank injury record is actually not true. This is his injury record in his time. So here we go. So his actual injury record is this. He in 23-24, when he was with Lons, he missed 11 days of the season and a single game with a shin injury. So to say his injury record is blank is actually not true, because there you go. There's his injury record. And then obviously he's missed 67 days this season, 11 games in total. And missing off that, of course, is the injury towards the end of last season. Right, so what worries me about Cortez is that he is a little bit injury prone. He does seem to have a real weakness in terms of his body. There does seem to be some issues there. There does seem to be some problems there as regards his strength, his ability to cope with the physicality that he's facing in Scotland. So that is a concern. If there is a weakness there, if there is something broken there, and I don't mean broken as in physically snapped or broken. What I mean in terms of broken with a player is when you have a player who starts at a young age to get injured on a regular basis, there is a worry that those injuries will continue to happen throughout his career. Look at Kemar Roof, look at Ryan Jack. There's a player at the moment, Adeyemi, the guy who plays for Borussia Dortmund, who scored those goals against Celtic. Adeyemi is very highly thought of on the continent. A number of the English Premier League clubs, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, are all looking at Karim Adeyemi. But his injury record is absolutely fucking shocking. If you go and research his injury record on Transfer Market, it's over 2 pages, and he's 22 years old. So it's pretty poor. So there's kind of this thing about when a player's young, if they get injured on a regular basis, is there a weakness there? Is there a problem there? Is there something we need to address there? The Cortez deal is one that is really concerning me going forward. The fact that he is constantly getting himself injured, whether it be through a tackle or whether it be through a muscle problem or whatever it is, he does appear to have some injury issues that really do need to be addressed. RFC 72 says clearly means from January. Doubt that have done a medical in the summer, especially when they knew about the injury. Probably true, which is a mistake. Cortez looked great in that one game last year. Very true. Souttar has come on some game, by the way. So glad we have him. Me too, Curry. We're going to talk a little bit of Souttar shortly. I can understand is years ago when players were injured, it took a few weeks to get back. Now it's months and the game isn't as hard as it used to be. I think that's a very good point. Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't say injury prone either. 3 different injuries, 2 caused by contact. Injury prone to me is Roof and Jack with the same issues constantly over many years. But what I'm saying is he clearly isn't very physically strong if he's suffering this number of contact injuries. There is clearly some physical weakness in Oscar Cortez. That's what I mean, RF72. Andrew Hunter says 4 million plus, disaster in the waiting with Cortez's injuries. This is the thing, is that he has some sort of muscle weakness. Now, clearly for me, we need to look, the fact we're stuck with him now. Look, whether we can sit here and we can moan all we want about the fact we've wasted £4.5 million on something that's broken. I mean, it's like buying a car that constantly breaks down, isn't it? You know, you'd be really frustrated if you went and bought a new car and every 6 months it broke down and you had to keep taking it back to the garage to get fixed all the time. And, you know, that's a bit similar to what's happening with Oscar Cortez. So whatever the issue is in terms of his body strength, in terms of his muscle strength, in terms of whatever the issues are, the medical staff need to have a look at this. They need to address this long term, because we cannot be sitting in a situation where Oscar Cortez is missing 11, 12 games every single season, because otherwise we are again wasting a substantial amount of wages on players who are sat in the stand. I mean, at this moment in time, I don't know if you're aware of this, guys. We've got around about what, 49, 50,000 pounds worth of injuries, pounds a week of injuries sat in the stand doing nothing. You've got Danilo on 26 grand a week, Matondo on 23 grand a week. That's 49,000 pound a week of injuries just sat in the stand doing nothing. Ridvan as well, 12 grand a week. So you take up to what, 50, 61,000 pounds a week of injuries just sat there. It is a concern. What have we got here? CJ says it'd be like having a new player when he gets sorted in a couple of years. That's the problem, isn't it? What is his current injury? Previously thigh and knee. It was some sort of contact injury to his shin, apparently. Do you think it's a cause of the climate because it's cold up here? I don't think it's the climate, mate. I think what it is, personally speaking, is he has some sort of issue in terms of muscle strength, bone strength, leg strength, some sort of strength and conditioning issues there. So for me, whatever happens between now and when he returns, the medical staff, the strength and conditioning snowflakeitis. Yeah, snowflakeitis. Good shout, mate. You know, the medical staff have got to look at a way of strengthening him up. So when he comes back stronger. He comes back fitter. You know, it's not a short-term fix with Oscar Cortez. With Cortez, it's going to take him a long time to come back, I think. Now, and even when he comes back to fitness, it's going to take him, I think, an even longer time to get his strength up, his physicality up, his muscle density up, his match fitness, his just general fitness levels need to be increased. You know, he's someone we're going to have to, I think, you know, cosset and kind of wrap in bubble wrap until he's, you know, fully fit. I don't think we can take that risk, but you've got to kind of ask a question. And I think RFC 72 makes a brilliant point here. He says that, me personally, I think you don't think he'd fully completed his rehab before the Hearts game, which he caused a second injury. The third one is hard because no one knows what it is, but it's from a tackle, which no one can help. And Corey says he needs muscle conditioning. I think part of you, I think it's right. I don't think he was fully there. I think he wasn't fully fit. I don't think he was fully strong enough. There is clearly an issue within the Rangers medical team and within the Rangers strength and conditioning staff, within the Rangers fitness staff at this moment in time. Now, what worries me is Philippe Clement came out and said in, you know, the end of last season, you will see a difference. You will see an improvement there. Well, I don't think we are seeing that improvement. We're still seeing players go injured. We're still seeing players being out for an elongated period of time. We're still seeing players come back and then get re-injured. You know, I mean, I hate to compare ourselves to Celtic, but you look at their players go out injured, 2-3 weeks later, they're back and they don't get injured again. They're fine. Now, you can't tell me that they're somehow superhuman over there, that, you know, Dyson Maida, who came back from a hamstring injury in about 3 weeks last year, not like 6 months like most of our players take, or, you know, I think Hatate got injured at one point last season and was back within a couple of weeks, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I think there is something fundamentally wrong within the medical department and the strength and conditioning department and the fitness department at the club at this moment in time. You know, I think it needs to be properly looked at. I think someone needs to take a long, hard outside look at this, you know, whether that's the new CEO when he comes in, or whether that's the new sporting director, whoever it is, you know, it needs to be looked at. It really does need to be looked at. Andrew Hunter says here, Ridvan and Matondo, 2 or 3 games and they'll be out again, always the same. Which then you beg the question is, if that's the problem, is what are we doing wrong with the rehab and what are we doing wrong with the strength and conditioning? Are we spending enough money on our medical team? That's a good question. I don't know what we're spending on them. Obviously, you know, we brought Dr. Mark Waller into the team to obviously, you know, we brought Dr. Mark Waller in. A lot of people talk about Dr. Mark Waller being the best thing that's ever happened to the club in terms of the fitness because of his record under Steven Gerrard. But I think part of that with Gerrard was down to the fitness work that Gerrard did with the team. I think one thing you cannot accuse Steven Gerrard's team of being is not fit. You look at Steven Gerrard's team, you look at the team of 55 and the team the season after, before he left, they were fit, they were strong, they were healthy, they were good to go all the time. You know, Kemar Roof had his best season under Steven Gerrard. You know, Kemar Roof was top scorer in 55. He had less injuries during that season than any injury season previously. So what was Steven Gerrard doing with the players that got them so fit and their conditions so good? And I think Gio benefited from that during the Europa League run to the final in Seville. Had Gerrard's, so I think, you know, that's all benefit. Like I said, it's almost like somebody from outside needs to come in and take a look at this and say, look, what is going wrong with, you know, with the players? What is wrong with the fitness? What was right under Gerrard? What was Gerrard doing? What were the medical staff? What were the conditioning staff? What were the strength and conditioning staff, the fitness staff doing under Steven Gerrard that they're not now doing under Philippe Clement? So it's a question I think we do need to look at and we do need answering, because we cannot continue with a situation where we are continually losing 2-3 players every couple of months to long-term injuries, because again, you're going to be facing the end of the season with a vastly reduced squad, an inability to compete when you're running it on 4 fronts, which we currently are. League Cup, Scottish Cup eventually will be coming up, obviously, eventually League and Europa League. You cannot compete on 4 fronts with a diminished squad. So what I want to know is, I think it almost takes someone from outside to look at this. I think the problem is when it's Philippe Clement, when it's Underlink, when it's Stefan van der Heyden, Alex Ray, when it's John Gilligan, Dr. Mark Waller, Taylor, the guy who's the head of whatever he's the head of at the moment, you know, comes in and looks at it. They're looking at it from the internal. They're not seeing things with a fresh pair of eyes. It's almost like, I think, the CEO, the new CEO, whoever that is, the new director of football operations, whoever that's going to be, needs to come in with a fresh slate and take a look at it and almost, you know, sit there with a blank piece of paper and say, right, okay, right, yeah, okay, right, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong, and this is how we need to improve it. So for me, I think there's a lot of work still needs to go into that side of it. I think there's a lot of work needs to, you know, that needs to go into actually preparing these players and getting these players to stay fit. Blue Nose says in the live chat, he says Beale was guilty of not giving the players a proper pre-season. I think Beale did too much running. He ran them into the ground. He fatigued them, and the problem is when you fatigue players like that, you're going to have a situation where you're going to have players getting injured, and that is a big issue. And I think that was the problem under Beale. I'm not entirely convinced that Clement is doing the right thing with them either, to some degree. And you listen to the Monaco fans talk about the constant injuries there, the constant fatigue there, the constant players been out for an elongated period of time when they didn't need to be. There does seem to be a slight worry here between Clement Monaco, Clement Rangers being very similar. Clement in Belgium been a completely different Clement. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be something there. So we do, I think, fundamentally need to look at the fitness operation within the team. And like I said, I think that needs to be an outsider, someone like a CEO, like the director of football operations for me. Gerrard's pre-seasons were worse than Beale's for running. Maybe, but can you remember players getting injured as much during Gerrard's time? I don't certainly remember as many injuries during Gerrard's time. You know, Gerrard had those players absolutely fit and flying most of the time. So whatever he was doing was working with the staff. I don't think that we've seen the same since he left. You know, Hadji was brilliant during 55. Roof was great during 55. You know, picking out players. Ryan Jack probably played. Ryan Jack probably played a whole lot more than any other time. So yeah, I mean, Janet's right. The team does look unfit. It doesn't look ready. I mean, one of the things I think we've got to say, sort of trying to hang on to, you know, if we're going to go positive on this, is Clement talked, didn't he, at the start of the season about you'll see the best Rangers in October, November time. Well, we're now on the 16th of October. We obviously have the game on Sunday. We're right in the heart of October then, and it's a massive October, November coming up for the club. So, you know, if we're going to see the best of Rangers in October, November, we need to see it now. We need to start to see it. So we need to start to see evidence of this starting on Sunday. You know, it cannot be a case of we get to the end of October and we go, well, that was shit. That wasn't great, was it? I mean, if you look at what's coming up, we've got a hard trip to Kilmarnock on Sunday. We've then got Steaua Bucharest at home in the Europa League. Then we're at home to St Mirren on the Sunday. And then we've got a massive game away at Pittodrie on the 30th. So, you know, the October month's going to fly by. You know, Gerrard had individual plans for certain players also, which I don't think happens anymore. I mean, that's a good shout, RFC 72. He didn't say what year. Yeah, true. Did he mean like 2026 or something, mate? Is it possible some of those players are checking out because they don't like the physical side of our game? I mean, it could be there's some sort of issue between the manager and the players. I mean, I have heard some comments that Clement is a rubbish coach, that he's a crap coach, that the players don't like his training sessions, don't like his coaching sessions, you know, and he's not liked by the players. I have heard that. Now, one of the things I've read, I've been reading a lot of autobiographies recently. I've just read Jamie Carragher's and Steven Gerrard's, and they talk a lot in those things about the managers they enjoyed working with, and the overriding theme that comes out of their playing days, and when you listen to them, is, oh, we really enjoyed their training sessions, we really enjoyed their ideas, we really enjoyed their tactics, we really enjoyed playing under them. And I think there's an element of some of these players are not enjoying playing under Clement. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing, I don't know. A big soapy for film well, can't wait to see. Yeah, I know, we are going to talk a little bit of John Souttar shortly, Janet, don't worry, we are going to get onto that. A little bit of John Souttar magic from last night, where he marked the second best player in the world out of the game. Yes, second best player. Sorry, I will not have it that Ronaldo is the best player in the world, because he quite simply isn't. Lionel Messi is, for me, the best player in world football. So yeah, look, I mean, we look at it like this, guys. Here we go. Let's bring it up on screen. This is the upcoming fixtures. So we've got, obviously, a hard trip to Killy on Sunday. We've got Steaua Bucharest on Thursday, 24th. We've got St Mirren on the 27th. Then Aberdeen, massive trip to Pittodrie. I mean, I honestly believe if we don't win at Pittodrie, the pressure will be heaped up massively on the manager. You know, I think that will be absolutely huge. Then we've got Motherwell in the semi-final on the 3rd. We've got Olympiacos away. That is going to be a very tricky tie. Going to Piraeus is never, ever easy. Rangers Hearts on the 10th. Rangers Hearts. Obviously, Hearts likely to have a new manager in place by then. Apparently, Neil Critchley is the name on the cards for that for that job. Apparently, that's the talk, that it is going to be Neil Critchley who will be the new manager of Hearts. Could well, obviously, should be in place by the time we play them. So it'll be interesting to see what effect he has on their team. Then we've got Dundee United at home on the 23rd. Difficult trip to the south of France to play Nice, and that's it. So that's October, November. So going through that, there is some very big, tough games. I would say Killy away, Aberdeen away, semi-final, Olympiacos away, and Nice away. Some massive, massive games, and it is a really big, big time for Rangers, and we need to win pretty much 99% of those games. I think realistically, the Europa League games, I think, are perhaps going to be a step too far for us this year. I think Olympiacos away will be a defeat. I think Nice away will be a defeat. I mean, especially if you consider that Nice's squad is worth 240 million and ours is worth 80. I mean, it's their squad is worth 3 times what our squad is worth. So I think you've obviously got that to take into account. But all the SPL games we've got to be winning. We've got to come. I think I heard. I can't remember. I heard or read this somewhere that. So it was said that when we go into that next game against Celtic, the next Old Firm, it needs to be a situation where we have won every single game between now and then. And we start to see a style, a shape, and a set of tactics that are working. That's what we need to see before we play them. If we go into that game against Celtic and we still haven't got a formation that works, we haven't got a style, we're not playing good football, we're not winning every game we play, then he's going to be under a lot of push. I haven't downplayed them, mate. Yeah, it was a great performance, CJ, by Northern Ireland. Well done, Northern Ireland, under your you've got a very young captain as well, haven't you? New captain, Conor Bradley, who's a top player. Yeah, 5-0 Northern Ireland. Well done. Absolutely. You smashed Bulgaria. Well done to you. This is such an important spell of games coming up, Brian. It certainly is. We've got who's first? Dessers. For what? Getting kicked out. I'd love to kick Dessers out of the team. He's shit. How many points will we get from those games, do you reckon, says D1? We'll have a look at them. Dave says North. Bradley was unreal. Yeah. I mean, CJ, I'll tell you one thing. Conor Bradley, you know what? Perhaps we should go and try and get Conor Bradley on loan in January, because he ain't going to get a game at Liverpool, is he? I mean, let's face it. When you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in front of you, you ain't going to get a game. So, I honestly, let's go to Liverpool in January and say, can we have you right back on loan? Because I think he's outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Let's try and steal Conor Bradley on loan in January because he's brilliant. Because like I said, he ain't going to get a game for Liverpool because he's got Trent Alexander-Arnold in front of him. How many points do I think we're going to take from those games? I don't know. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's have a look. So the fixtures, again, Killy away. I think Killy away on Sunday will be a draw. I've got this horrible feeling it's going to be a draw. So 1 point from that. I think we'll beat St Mirren's. That's 4 points. I think we'll draw with Aberdeen away. That's 5 points. Beat Hearts, 8 points. Beat Dundee, 11 points. 11 points, I think, from a possible 15. I think 11 from 15 for me. So, guys, get your predictions in the live chat. I'm going for 11 from 15 points. I think if that's the case, he'll have a lot of pressure on him going into the Celtic game. He really will. Janet says, going to be hard to win every game when we don't know what we're going to set up. Way Clement, and who knows what his best 11 is. Absolutely. I think, look, that's the thing. But Clement's kind of set himself up for a fall, in my opinion, because he said this line about you'll see the best Rangers in October, November. Well, he set himself up for a fall because if we don't see the best Rangers, and we don't see a team that wins 5 from 5 in the league, then he's got problems. He's got problems. Absolutely, 100% got problems. D1 says, I reckon we'll beat Killy and St Mirren. If I'm honest, we'll struggle against Aberdeen. I mean, the one thing that worries me about Aberdeen, D1, is the fact that Jimmy Thielen, who's their new manager, seems to have got a style set up, a way of playing set up. I think we'll learn a lot more about Aberdeen when they play Celtic. I think a lot of people are still expecting them to lay down and die and just give up against Celtic. It'd be interesting to see how they play against Celtic. Yeah, absolutely. Jim Cunningham says he will have problems if we don't beat them. I mean, do you mean Aberdeen there, or do you mean Celtic? CJ says he's dreading Killy and Aberdeen. Yeah, me too, mate. Me too, mate. So look, I think 11 from 15. That's what my prediction is. 11 from 15 in those games. Right. Let's move on to talk about John Souttar, shall we? Right. So John Souttar, I think he has got problems. I think he has got a fair few problems, mate. Yeah, I agree. I think he has got problems. I think he doesn't know what his best formation is. I think he doesn't know when he knows what his formation is. It's 4-2-3-1. I think the problem is that he won't adapt from 4-2-3-1. No matter what, he won't change from that. I mean, Clement's problems are that he's too inflexible with his formation. Number two, he doesn't know what his best 11 is. Number three, he won't drop James Tavernier, which I don't understand under any circumstances how James Tavernier is still playing in this team, given the fact that he is absolute dog shite. He doesn't have a style put into the team yet. He has done the same thing over and over again against Celtic and failed every single time he's tried the same thing. And every time we play them and we lose to them or draw with them, he comes out with stuff where he doesn't help himself. Post that 3-3 at Ibrox, he said it was a moral victory. Well, how was it a moral victory? You don't get fuck all for moral victories. I don't get that. So that's the first thing. Second thing for me is he came out with this quote about, after they outplayed us at Celtic Park, which they did, they completely outplayed us at Celtic Park, that the game was an even game. It wasn't an even game. He doesn't help himself with some of the shit that he comes out with sometimes. Absolutely not. Jim says, the sheep, Abadonk, no words to describe them, that was the mob. I don't understand why he doesn't go 4-1-2-1-2. He won't change his shape, mate. He will just not change his shape ever. It's Clement's way, and he won't change for anyone, and he's never going to drop Tav. And this is the problem. I mean, until he's prepared to drop Tav, he's going to have a whole host of issues. I mean, I think this is an interesting comment as well. We collapse against it. That's what Jermaine Defoe kind of alluded to in his comments that he made the other day. Did you hear Jermaine Defoe being interviewed? He said, "Look." He said the problem with Rangers is they have some sort of mental weakness there. There is this kind of like a mental block there, and he's right. There is a kind of mental block there. There really is, and I think there is issues there that need to be addressed. So yeah, you're right on that one. I think Jermaine Defoe identified that, didn't he, a little bit? Right, let's talk about John Souttar. Let's talk a little bit of John Souttar, shall we? Right, John Souttar last night I thought was absolutely excellent. Really was brilliant. He was man of the match. Here's the tweet from the Scottish national team. John Souttar is your EE player of the match, and there's Big John. And I just shared this when I did it on the morning video, and the reason I shared the Portugal team was because I wanted to show you how strong a Portugal team he actually played against. That it wasn't some second level Portugal team; it was a pretty strong Portugal team that John went up against. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is probably the second best player in the world. Still, Conceição is a player in demand. Jota is with Liverpool, and I think he's their top. He's either their top scorer or their second top scorer this season. Bruno Fernandes, the Manchester United captain, in there. Nuno Mendes, who's very highly thought of, and a left back that a lot of clubs are looking at. Diaz is a good player. Costa, their keeper, is a good player. Cancelo is a good player. That's a good Portugal team, and John Souttar did an excellent job, and he really did have the crying Ronaldo in his back pocket. I don't know if you saw when they were coming up. Souttar was absolutely brilliant. Now, I honestly believe that John Souttar gets a very difficult press and a very difficult gets a hard time from some fans, and I think it's really unfair the hard time that he gets from a lot of fans. I think he's a good footballer, and it's likely it's like what I said. It's if he didn't have a mistake in him, then he wouldn't be playing for us anymore. He'd be playing in England. He'd be playing down south, one of the top 10 English clubs. But I'm going to defend him here. Brian Smith says we potentially could be playing Celtic in a cup final in December. If this happens and we lose that game end of January, he has to go. I agree, Brian. If we lose to Celtic if we get to the cup final, they get to the cup final, and we lose to them in the cup final, and we lose to them at Ibrox, There is no way on this God's green earth that man can stay in this job. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance. Not a chance can he stay. That was a good Portugal team. Big soapy face last night. It certainly was. Had Ronaldo in his back pocket. Football is back this weekend. However, 12 p.m. away to Killy could be tricky. I agree, Aldo. We're just saying that. Souttar, respect last night. Absolutely. Souttar, like I said, I'm going to defend him here. I think John Souttar gets a hard time from Rangers fans. But if you look at him, his playing style, he brings the ball out from the back fantastically well. He breaks the lines and draws the midfield out to help create space for the attackers to work when he brings the ball out from the back. And his distribution from the back is very good as well. So that's a big positive. His tackling is good. He puts his body on the line. He's one of those traditional centre-halves, isn't he, that will just chuck himself in the way of the ball, that will try and, block a shot, will try and put his body on the line, will always try and, go that extra mile. So there's a lot of positives about John Souttar in terms of that play, in terms of his defensive abilities. I think he's let down a little bit by Robin Proper. I think Robin Proper is the weak link of the two of them. I don't think Souttar is the weak link. Now, the Proper for me looks like a panic buy. He looks like, oh shit, we didn't get Cordoba. Oh shit, we can't get this player. Oh shit, we can't get the Brazilian lad from the Spanish league. So, oh shit, who do we get? Quick, get him. It was a bit. I think the Proper deal was a panic buy, if I'm being honest. But one of the things that I am going to say is John Souttar has one thing that really does concern me for John, which is the fact that he constantly gets pulled out of position all the time. He's constantly pulled out of position. He always puts in 100%, and you can't fault him for that. Correct. Really don't like Cheney and Tav on the right. Me too. DL2, congratulations. You've been a member for 9 months. And we have the membership scheme, 99p a month. Please join up. Wanted Scotland to get pumped, to be honest. Stopped supporting them years ago. There's a few Rangers fans feel like that, mate. I think there's a few Rangers fans feel like that. But yeah. He gets pulled out of position all the time. Now, if you go back and you watch the Hibs game and you watch the St Johnstone game in particular, go and look at the number of times John Souttar is playing right back. Go and look at the number of times where the gap between the centre halves is this. It's not this, where like it should be. It's this. Because he's constantly out of position, because he's constantly having to cover Tav. Because Tav is always missing. He's always missing. He's out of position. He's jogging back. He's not getting back. And I don't understand the defence of James Tavernier anymore. I don't get it anymore. I don't understand any true Rangers fan saying that James Tavernier should start. I just don't get it anymore. The guy is absolute dog shite. Absolute dog shite. I mean, you watch those games against Hibs and St Johnstone, and Souttar is pulled out of position constantly to cover for him. There's even times when Cherney's playing right back because Tav fucked off up the pitch and disappeared somewhere. And to me, it's weakening the team. James Tavernier is substantially weakening this team because everybody else is having to cover for him. It's like when let me give you an analogy. When you're on a shift, like I'm a supermarket manager. That's what I do. I'm a retail manager. And if I've got a shit member of staff on my team, I have to work twice as hard to cover for that person. Okay. And I've got some of my jobs get affected because I've got to do twice the work to cover for that shit person. And it's the same in football, that James Tavernier is dog shite, and Souttar and Cheney and Barron are having to constantly cover for him and constantly bail him out just to keep him in the team. And to me, that is bad decision-making. That's bad management. That's bad team selection. And Tav is just an absolute disablement to this team. He's like a noose round the neck. He really genuinely is. And he's got to be dropped. He's got to be dropped. The guy is absolute dog shite. Clark says he'll be there as long as this board are. They can't afford to sack him. On Souttar, he'd make less mistakes if he wasn't having to cover Casper, aka Tab. That's what I was just saying, mate. Using usual creating our own mental block, move forward. He's got to perform for Rangers, which is always more important than Scotland. Correct. Absolutely agree with that one. Clark should have been sacked after the Euros. I agree with that. I did say, didn't I, in one of the videos, that I don't know how he kept his job and Gareth Southgate didn't. I mean, I think Southgate had to go because he's obviously blowing it with that golden generation of players. But yeah, I mean, come on, if Southgate's gone, then Clark should have gone. He only have one style, and that is to allow Tav freedom and everyone to cover for him. Tav isn't a defender. His lack of quality and speed, correct. Get we cash in at right back. He's been solid for Holland under 21s. He's brilliant. He was great for Holland as well. Again, I don't get it. Love Big Soapy to do well. He's one of our own. Agree. When Tav is playing, you have to take 2 players out of position to cover his arse. Agree. Emmy says, Tav is wounded soldier being carried around in battle. Correct. And Aldo says here, Tav never been a defender nor a captain either. And this is the problem we've got. And like I said, please come and challenge me on this one, because I'd love the challenge, because Tav, for me, is just utter garbage. He just genuinely is like playing with 10 men. He's a man down every single time because Souttar's covering for him, Tierney's covering for him, Barron's covering for him. If Sterling's playing in front of him, Sterling's covering for him. Everyone's covering for this absolute useless turd just to keep him in the team, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. When Cash came on last match and Tav got moved to midfield, Tav looked really confused, like we have no plan B. Yeah, I agree, we don't. And Tav can't play. Right, let's get this one out there. Tav cannot play right wing because he ain't quick enough to play right wing. He's too slow to play right wing. So please don't come with that crap. You know, if you're thinking that Tav's a right winger in for the rest of his time at Rangers, you really are smoking something very strong. You really are. Tav's got to go. He's got to go, and I think it's no surprise. You know, with if you look at the Kiev game, you look at the Hibs game, the St Johnstone game, the Lyon game. Everyone targets our right side. Celtic target our right side. Everyone targets the right side of our defence because they know that they can get joy there because Tav's gone missing. Souttar's out of position because he's covering Tav's arse. There's only one centre back in the middle. It just causes so many problems. Michael White says, Captain John Gregg, Tavernier, no comparison. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Tav shouldn't even be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Tav had one great season, 55, and Europa came campaign to the final. Says, although I've said this all along, Tav is a League One standard footballer. He's a League One standard footballer in England. He wouldn't get any higher than League One in England. He really wouldn't. I think we've got a situation that we do need to address. I honestly believe that Big Cass should be starting at right back. I really do. I think Cass is by far a better player. He's quick, he's solid, he's strong. He's a good footballer. He's a very good footballer. Clement needs to be clever in his team selection. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Andrew Hunter says here, don't understand why Clement can't see Tav is the weak link when everyone else can see it. I agree, Andrew. Even if Tav says he'll improve his performance, he will fudge. He's not going to improve because he ain't going to get... The thing that's holding Tav back is his age, right? And Tav ain't going to get any younger. He's not suddenly going to lose 2 years in the next 6 months or the next 6 weeks. He really isn't. So I honestly believe that we've got to do something about this. And if the manager won't do this, it's going to lead to just one thing and one thing only. And that, for me, is that he will get sacked because we will lose to Celtic. We won't be Aberdeen, and he will end up losing his job. And he can thank Tav for the fact that he's lost his job. So I genuinely despair when I look at this. I genuinely don't understand how the manager can keep picking him. And like I said, I'd love someone to come on here and tell me that I'm wrong and tell me that Tav's still got it and Tav's a top player and Tav's the man and all this stuff. I'd love someone to come on and tell me that and tell me why they think that, because I just genuinely don't see it anymore. I really don't. Now, this would be my team against Killy. This is what I would go with against Killy. I might change this, obviously, depending on suspensions and injuries and whatever. We'll get to your comments in a minute. So I would say Butland in goal. I'd go with Cass at right back. I'd go with Souttar and Balogun. I want to see Big Leon play again. Big Leon is a better defender than Robin Proper. He's a much better defender than Robin Proper. He's a leader. And therefore, there you've got your captain. You make either a Soapy or Balogun captain. You're sorted. Kiefte at left back because Ridvan's still not fit. I want to see a midfield 3 of Barron, Dio and Raskin. I like Raskin. He did well against St Johnstone. I think he's a good player. He's got a little bit of nastiness in him. I think he allowed Barron to get further forward, and I thought Barron looked better being a bit further forward. So I like that. Dio, I think, has got to be given a bit more freedom to get forward and play a little bit more in the forward areas. Where Dio is going to be more effective is with his passing and his ability to create space in those final areas, in the final third for me. Cheney writes, Dessers is going to have to start. As much as I hate Dessers, and I think he's not very good. You're going to have to start Dessers because at the end of the day, to come into the team, other than Cyril Dessers, because if Hamza's going to be a good player eventually, but he's still not there yet. Dinio's still injured. He's not going to play Lovelace. So for me, you've got to, unfortunately, Dessers has to start, and Barami on the left coming in and causing all the problems he can. I'd like to see us go 4-3-3. I really genuinely would. What else have we got? CJNI says here in the live chat, Cash needs to play since we're always being told players need time to play together. Get the young lad on. Yeah, absolutely. And he's on loan as well. Why have we got a player on loan that we're not going to use? I don't genuinely understand that one. I don't get it. Phil has to start winning off the Tav crack. I like that one. Yeah. Tav litigation. Tav, definitely. 100%. Casa deserves to start over Tav based solely off his under 21 games. Agreed. Tav all day long to be dropped, says Janet. And we've got a comment here from Aldo. Says, what's our goals this season, though, until some are realistic, though? Bears, what's our happy with that? Aldo, what a question, mate. What's our realistic goals? I'll be honest with you. If I had to say now what I think we'll win this season, cup-wise, trophy-wise, I don't think we'll win anything. I genuinely don't think we'll win anything. I think Celtic will win the treble this year. And I hate saying that. It makes me feel physically sick saying that. I just think that when it comes to playing them, we haven't got the ability to beat them. We haven't got the ability to take them on. We collapse mentally against them. We don't have the talent within the squad to take them on. We don't have the manager to take them on. I think as much as I hate the guy, and I do, Brendan Rodgers is a very good coach. He's a very good coach. He knows how to organise his teams. He knows how to get the best out of his players in domestic football. In Europe, he's awful. But in domestic football, as he proved when he was at Liverpool, as he proved, when he was at Swansea, he can get the best out of his players. He knows how to organise a team. And say what you want about them. They've got a style. They've got a shape. They're difficult to beat. I don't think we will beat them this season. Although I'm sorry to say, I genuinely think we win nothing this season. I think they win everything. The only way I can see us winning something is if they lose to Aberdeen in the semi-final or they lose in the Scottish Cup. Then I can see us winning one of those cup competitions if we don't have to play them. That's the only way I can see us actually winning something this season. We won't win anything, says Stuart. Aldo says, sadly, I agree. Yeah, Aldo, I don't want to sit here and say that. It makes me sad. It makes me angry. It makes me sick saying that, mate. Blue Nose says, I hate to say it, but the other mob will get 56 before us. Yeah, I think they will. Agreed, Owen. Same here. Our bottle goes every time we face that mob. And until we overcome that situation of them having this, this kryptonite against us. It's like Celtic are our kryptonite. We can't beat them at the moment. And until we start beating them on a regular basis, we ain't winning nothing. We don't deserve anything at this point, but I hate to say that. CJ says here, I'm afraid I agree, Owen. We have the team to beat most of the other teams, but they're getting better. Look, I think we've got the team to beat everyone else and finish second. I still think we'll overtake Aberdeen. I still think we'll finish second because I think we underestimate how shit everyone else in Scotland is. And I think, you look at the likes of Hibs and the likes of Killie and the likes of Dundee and Dundee United and St Johnstone and Ross County. And it's just shit. It's absolute pure data. And we'll beat them because we always do, because it's easy. But because we're Rangers. But Celtic, not beating Celtic is what's costing us. Not winning the Old Firm game. You don't win titles and cups unless you beat the Old Firm, the other member of the Old Firm. If you're Celtic, it's us. You win nothing. What else have we got here? The mess we're in at the moment, the mob have full control, hammering us and everyone. D1 says fair assessment. Janet says, here we go. Where's Janet's comment? Janet says here, It's embarrassing that we're talking about Rangers in this way, but it's just not good enough, says Janet. Blue Nose says here, the only way we can challenge them is if we go for another ownership model. I think we do need a big investment, mate, into the squad. I think we really do. Janet, growing up in the 90s, we would never talk about. We wouldn't. You know, look, when I started supporting Rangers back in the late 80s under Graham Souness, and you know the years under Sir Walter, we never would have talked like this. We never would have, you know, been as negative about the team as we are at the moment, because look, they're just not up to the task anymore. And the problem is we don't have a manager that gets the best out of what we have got against them, or doesn't know how to beat them. I think the thing about Graham Souness and the thing about Walter Smith was they knew how to beat Celtic. They knew how to put a team out there. And even when we played shit at times against Celtic, we'd still beat them because he knew how to beat them. We don't seem to have that at the moment. Celtic a crap team, but we need to put pressure on them to win. If we can't beat Celtic, or we deserve nothing. Cup game, I think. Question to all: who would replace PC? Because there isn't anyone in Scotland capable of doing it. And please don't say McInnes, says Grant Willis. I agree. There isn't anyone in Scotland capable of replacing him. I genuinely believe that there isn't. I wouldn't say Derek McInnes is good enough to be the new Rangers manager. I wouldn't say that Jimmy Thielen is. I wouldn't say that any of the managers that are currently playing their trade in Scotland are good enough to take over as the manager. I don't believe that. I'd rather be negative about the team right now than be the one of the new happy clapper supporters who are happy with second. I think there is an element of that amongst the younger fans because they're used to it. They're used to it. They're more interested. I think some of the younger supporters are interested in the cult of personality rather than actually the team. I think that's part of the issue with the whole situation. John says, I've followed Rangers for more than 50 years. This is one of the weakest squads I've seen. In terms of replacements for him as manager, you know, there are people out there. You know, it's just a case of looking and going and trying to find those candidates that, you know, that are available. I mean, there's people like Will Still. There's people like who else was available? Obviously, Knutson, the Bodo Glimt manager. There is Kevin Muscat. There is I think some English managers as well that are around and about. You know, English managers don't get a chance in the Premiership. They really don't in the Premier League. You know, if you look at the top clubs in the Premier League, they're all managed by foreign managers. So, you know, is there anyone knocking around in the Championship or knocking around in the Premier League who would be a decent buy in a bet as a manager? I don't know. I haven't really looked into it at the moment. What else have we got there? Aldo says that Aberdeen look better than us at the moment. D1 says difference back then was we had the financial backing from the board. We now don't. Correct. 2012 handed the stinky mob free reign. Catch up was always going to be an uphill struggle after that. Agreed. Trying Scotsman. We can't sack Clem on it. It'll cost us a fortune. We can't afford, so we're stuck with this clown. I mean, there is ways around sacking managers when you can't afford it in one lump sum. You just end up paying their wages for the next few years as well. So that's obviously the way around it. But I think you can't just keep a manager because there's, you know, you can't afford to sack him, because you have to sack him if he's doing so badly. You know, then at the end of the day, yeah. On that comment, Owen, Gerrard got 3 years up here, didn't even get a year at Villa. True. Jurgen Klopp has got a job at the moment. I can't see Jurgen Klopp coming anywhere near Rangers. He's got that job with Red Bull. Apparently, the only management job he would leave that Red Bull job for is the German national job. I can't really think of a decent team on paper. Sooner Tav gets an injury so we can move on, the better. Aldo says, Gaz, Laudrup, Alberts, McCoist, Marco Negri, Rod Wallace, Richard Goff, Lorenzo Amoruso, Sergio Perini, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, Andrei Kanchelskis, Gio, Colin Hendry, and so many more. Aldo, you make me, what's the word, nostalgic, mate. I was 10 in 87 when it was gifted to me as a Sabutier box set with Rangers and Flamengo. We couldn't afford Klopp. And like I said, I think he's on 10 million a year with the Red Bull group. So, I mean, we couldn't pay him 10 million a year. And like I said, he has said the only management job he would return to now is the German national team. That was in the interview that he gave the other day, explaining why he took the Red Bull job, which is interesting. I hate that mob with a passion, but I can't lie about them being the best team. Another thing that goes against us in the football authorities in Scotland are frightened of them. True, they are. I think there is an element of that, mate. There is an element of that. Right, guys, that is it for this afternoon. Thank you to everyone who's joined. Thank you to everyone who's interacted with the podcast this afternoon. For all your comments, your thoughts, please obviously smash that like. And always remember, guys, please never forget, we are the people.